Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. So when Chris Todd emailed me a copy of this lawsuit naming Jaguar Wright and Big Homie CC, when I read the section involving them, I just thought, I think trolls have took a lawsuit, not taking away from the seriousness of the allegations, but it seems to me that trolls had asked AI to weave some of our most popular, powerful speakers that we've had on this channel into this lawsuit. I was expecting to read Chris Todd and Courtney Burgess were going to be the getaway drivers for this crime. I was thinking, there's no way this is even real. And I think it is preposterous that they have named Big Homie and Jag, but we'll get to that. So it has been reported in the news now, which is giving it some authenticity. I don't know if Ariel Mitchell has come out and said it is real, but I'll go over it shortly, and I've also got Big Homie CC's response on it, and we'll look at it more closely. You make up your minds. So within the last hour, because Odell Beckham Jr. is accused of actual battery in this Diddy lawsuit. In the last hour, he's come out and denied it. So perhaps it is real then, if that is the case. Earlier today, it was reported in Yahoo News that NFL wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. was sued in California federal court for allegations that he, along with Diddy and several others, partook in the gang R-word of a woman in 2018. Beckham, Diddy, and 11 others, and these 11 others include Jaguar Wright and Big Homie CC, are defendants in an amended complaint filed by Ashley Parham, an anonymous mother and son, Jane Doe and John Doe, who were allegedly kidnapped by a defendant posing as law enforcement and witnessed the R-word. Parham originally filed a lawsuit in October. At the time, she did not identify Beckham by name. The complaint asserts that in February 28th, Parham met Shane Pierce, restaurant manager, acquaintance of Diddy in California. Parham says to impress her, Pierce FaceTimed Diddy, but the move backfired when Parham told Pierce that she wasn't impressed he knew Diddy. Also, Diddy allegedly took offense to Parham suggesting he had something to do with the murder of Tupac. A month later, Parham visited Pierce's apartment in California. While Parham was there, she says Diddy arrived along with several other defendants. Among them, the actor Drew Desbordes, better known as Drewski. Parham contends Diddy immediately antagonized her over a comment that he was involved in Tupac's death. Parham says the antagonization escalated with Diddy threatening to attack her with a knife, while another person with Diddy said they could sell her. Parham, who is represented by attorneys Sean Perez and Ariel Mitchell, then alleges she was R-worded by multiple men, including Beckham, and drugged. Diddy, according to Parham, also warned her that no one would believe her, and that if she told anyone, Diddy would make sure her family was harmed. Her retelling of events also says that while escaping, she used a knife to graze Diddy in the abdomen, and Parham also claims she was shot at. As Parham tells it, law enforcement did not seriously investigate the incident and did not bring any charges. So the complaint describes Beckham as part of this group who inflicted these criminal acts. The complaint says Parham did not know who Beckham was at the time, but found out later. He's described as smoking the green and cigarettes, being called Cornelius by other group members, and having a business conversation with Diddy during which the two men discussed Parham going with Beckham to New York. At the time, Beckham played for the New York Giants. So, like other defendants, he's accused of actual battery, SA, actual harassment, racketeering, intentional infliction of emotional distress, false imprisonment, and related claims. Parham is seeking monetary damages that would reflect physical injury, severe mental and emotional distress, pain and suffering, mental anguish, and loss of enjoyment of life. So this case is before U.S. District Judge Rita F. Lynn. Attorneys for Diddy, of course, are denying the accusations, maintaining Diddy was not in California on the day of the incident, and stressed that police investigators did not bring charges. And in the last hour, according to the Washington Post, Odell Beckham Jr. has responded and said that he is denying everything, and this is ridiculous. All right, so we're looking at it more closely because out of all of the people who've been named in this lawsuit, we got Diddy, Christina Coram, Shane Pierce, Ruben Valdez, John Peltier, Odell Beckham Jr., Drew Desborders, aka Drewski, Jacqueline Wright, aka Jaguar Wright, Helena Harris Scott, Matthias Gonzalez, Brandy Cunningham, Janice Combs, Keith Lux, aka Big Homie CC, and John and Jane Doe's 1 to 10. So, like I said, when I first got the lawsuit, it was like, why don't we just ask AI to weave in some of Sean Atwood's podcast guests? And it just seemed preposterous to me that this has happened. And I was expecting to read that Courtney Burgess was going to be in there as a getaway driver with Chris Todd, and on and on and on it was going to go. So let's look at Big Homie's response to this. And shout out to Big Homie. You know, Big Homie and Jaguar Wright have been two of our most powerful speakers on the channel that we've had. Due to legal situations, we had to take most of it down. We've always got their backs. And here's what Homie has said about this. Let me just refresh. Here we go.
When it comes to this lawsuit I've been listed in, they have filed this lawsuit 3 different times. Each time I countersued and they dismiss it. It's complete nonsense. I never worked for the Zest Monster. I never ever was a part of any of this clown activity that I got going on. I talked to Andrew Tate today. He told me I'm under attack from the Matrix is what I stand for. And that's cool. I prepare for that. At the end of the day, we protect women and kids. We battle human trafficking. We pop out daily. We push up on anybody. All of that is nonsense. All you YouTubers posting it, I know y'all struggling, and I know I'm the biggest. Say my name, your views go up, whatever. Cease and desist will be going out. They've been going out. Complete nonsense. If you posting that and trying to be in my inbox saying you support me, you a liar. When I see you, I'm going to treat you the same way I treat everybody else. Straight like that. I get asked about this every day. Fake news, man. Straight up. If you believe that, whatever, between you and God. There's no way you can associate my name with this sucker shit. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this one time only. You posting that, cease and desist is going on, straight up. And I'm about to start suing people for defamation because it's getting out of control. Y'all obsessed with me. Y'all trying to stop what I do and what I stand for. I was warned about this, and I prepared for this, though. So stay tuned. I got something for all you goofies. Oh, no.
All right, so there's Big Homie's response. So, come on now. What is the chance of 2 of our podcast guests being in California on the same day to be co-conspirators in this allegation? I just think the chance of that is so improbable. I can't see how this possibly could have happened. Let's say the lawsuit had named one of them, then that would be more believable. But to have 2 of them, like I said, they might as well have thrown Courtney Burgess, Chris Todd, and more of our podcast guests in there, because it just doesn't seem right to me. So someone has said here, Maria said, I have seen that Jag was in prison when this allegation was supposed to have happened. I don't believe it. And I do believe what they said. I believe what they said. All right, so put a 1 in the chat if you think the chance of Jaguar Wright and Big Homie, 2 of our podcast guests, being there on this date, involved in this heinous crime. If you think this is realistic, put a 2 in the chat. If you think it's unrealistic, put a 1 in the chat. Let me know. So if you think there's no way they could have possibly been there, put a 1 in the chat. If you think they were both there on the same day, helping Diddy commit this heinous crime, then put a 2 in the chat. Let's see what's coming in. So 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. Well, funny they left out Julian Lionel exactly yet. So it's looking to me about 90% ones here. And this is why when I read it, I was thinking to myself, how can a law firm even put this out? When Chris Todd sent it to me, I was thinking, trolls must have put a lawsuit into AI, put some of our podcast guest names in, and said, put these into this story, and type out what looks like a genuine lawsuit. But it's been reported in the press, so it looks like it's real, which makes me think something bigger is going on with trying to silence Jaguar Wright and Homie. This could be lawfare. So lawfare, it doesn't matter if you are innocent or guilty. They just throw lawsuit after lawsuit on you. They entangle you. They make you waste your resources. It's expensive to defend against lawsuits. They make you waste your time, and that ties you up and takes you away from reporting on the beasts. And like Big Homie said right there, he is now having to file cease and desists. He's having to take legal action himself. And this is exactly what they want. Even if you are completely innocent, they don't care. They don't care. They could just put you in the mix with the lawsuit and tie you down and drain your resources and drain your time and cause, it wasn't Meal there too, and cause division and cause people who just believe mainstream news BS to turn against you. Honestly, folks, I was up at my parents' house at the weekend. I've been on the road for a few days, doing podcasts, doing school talks, interviewed Maggie Oliver again. She brought one of the girls from the documentary, 3 girls that was on the BBC about the grooming gang, and she came and did an interview for the first time. Anyway, at my parents' house, I'm sat in the living room watching the BBC. And my head's going to explode. These news presenters just look so fake. It was like a caricature of the news. The last time I was up there was months of last year. I've not seen any BBC, and you see it, and they're just all like polished and synthetic and android looking and speaking like robotically, talking about how wonderful Zelensky is, how wonderful Keir Starmer is, and we've got to keep the war going, and Putin is evil and he's ill and he's going to take all. Oh, anyway, there are people out there who buy into the BS, and mainstream media is reporting this lawsuit now. It's in Yahoo, it's in the Washington Post, and I'm going to zoom in now and look more closely at what they are saying in this lawsuit about the co-defendants, including Jag and Homie. So it's filed by the law office of Ariel Mitchell. Do you remember when we had Ariel Mitchell on with Jag? The podcast we did with them together. There was a bit of tension, but they got along by the end of it. So we've covered this lawsuit in the past before the amendment, so I won't go over all the earlier pages of it. It's got it starts out just listing all of the co-defendants, and it's got photos of them. So the new thing is defendant Odell Beckham Jr. is an individual who resides and is domiciled in Florida, previously referred to as John Doe in the original complaint. We've got John Lawrence Pelletier, resides in Nevada or Hawaii, they're saying. Ruben Lera Valdez resides in California. They are saying. And then we've got Drewski, resides in Maryland or Georgia. And then we got defendant Jacqueline Wright, defendant Jaguar, is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in California or Nevada. Defendant Eleanor Harris Scott resides domiciled in California. A few more females there. Then they've got Janice Combs. And then they've got like a joint picture. I should have used this as a thumbnail, actually. They've got a joint picture of Jag and Homie with a green screen behind them. Defendant Keith Lux, Big Homie CC, is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides and is domiciled in Nevada. Right, so, for months now, we've been aware of the details of this lawsuit. It involves the R wording with the remote control, the TV remote control. Shane coaxed her over, knowing that Diddy was going to do something, allegedly. And Karan was there as well. And it was all very menacing. So I'm just forwarding through all this bit right now so we can get to the amended people that they've added in here. So let me see. Plaintiff remained in an almost lifeless state in Shane's bedroom until she finally regained her bodily functions. So there was a lot of horrific things that came before this, but we've already covered all that previously. She began looking for her clothes and her purse. She wanted the car keys, etc. She was only able to find a T-shirt which she put on to cover her body. She observed the black rubber on the floor of the bedroom, which she assumed had been used by one of the defendants, most likely Diddy. She found the knife, headed to the backyard where the defendants were smoking, concealed the knife. Here we go. Upon coming to the exit of the home, which led to the backyard, plaintiff was met by defendant Big Homie CC, who was standing at the door between the residence and the backyard. By the time plaintiff was able to compose herself and come to the backyard, defendant KK was no longer in the backyard but upstairs on the patio balcony with defendant Brandy. Defendant Doe allowed plaintiff to walk to the backyard where defendants were still smoking. Defendant Doe did not see the knife that plaintiff concealed on her left side as it was obstructed by the oversized T-shirt plaintiff was wearing. Plaintiff observed Diddy partially nude from the assault while the other defendants had on clothing. Shane left to the upstairs portion of the patio balcony where defendants KK and Brandy were already situated. Plaintiff then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard where defendant Diddy noticed her presence and remarked he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her enough substances to take out a horse. She asked Diddy what he gave and he laughed and did not respond. Diddy made further comments to the plaintiff in a jovial, friendly manner, asking why they hadn't partied together before because it was so much fun and he hadn't had any ass that tight in a while. And then the lawsuit is alleging that defendant Big Homie CC then quipped at defendant Diddy that he probably hadn't had any ass that tight because he's not used to having, well, let me rephrase this, carnal relations in the back door, let's say, with women, which defendants Diddy and Doe laughed at. Can you guys see Big Homie here with Diddy making obscene wisecracks like this? I don't think so, folks. I will eat my hat if it comes out that Big Homie was there saying this garbage. Plaintiff then told Diddy she did not party with him and she did not enjoy party with him and that he had R-worded her. Diddy did not like plaintiff's response to his light-hearted commentary offered her money and instructed her to say that the violent R word was consensual and that she was a lady of the night. Plaintiff became enraged and yelled at Diddy that her R word was not consensual. She was not a lady of the night. She refused to take any money from him and would tell the police that he had R-worded her. Defendant Diddy then told plaintiff no one would ever believe she had been R-worded by him. If she did tell anyone, they would harm her family. Here we go. Let's weave Big Homie back in. Defendant Big Homie CC then showed plaintiff his phone, which looked as if it was the outside of plaintiff's estranged sister's residence, as she could see her sister sitting on the couch and her sister's spouse on the balcony. It looked as if someone was outside the residence streaming this video to defendant Big Homie CC's phone. Wow. I can't even... Guys, have I gone into the Twilight Zone here? So not only is Big Homie CC now at the location of this heinous crime, making wisecracks, he's got someone who just happens to be outside of the sister of the alleged victim live streaming the house in a threatening manner to the alleged victim at this location. Plaintiff, while rattled by what she was seeing on defendant Big Homie CC's phone, was still angry about being gang R-worded and was not complying with Diddy's request to take the money being offered to say the R-word was consensual. Now, folks, I know there's over 1,000 watching. Like I said, I'm not trying to take away from the heinous nature of the allegations here or what Diddy has allegedly done, but this whole thing just seems like they've asked AI to weave some of our podcast guests into the narrative, just to blend them in. And the reasons they have done that are, to me, you know, I'm not 100% sure right now, but I'm suspecting it's lawfare, it's intimidation, it's trying to prevent these guys from continuing to speak out online, to distract them, to wear their resources down, and to get the mainstream media to jump on, to get lemmings who jump off cliffs for mainstream media and believe Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction to turn against Jaguar Wright and Big Homie CC. But it's so far-fetched. Let's have a look what people are saying in the chat. This is BS. This is desperation. It's a direct attack on the people who have stood up. Exactly. This is bullshine. Thanks, Bailey. Yep, let's get those likes up, folks. We have the channel's been getting attacked, hasn't it, lately? If Diddy is so confident in his crimes, you think he'd call his mummy? It's power, wealth, and fame. And this is to make Diddy's other cases seem like a lie as well, Val. Yes. Yes. So if we can make one case completely insane and have the people who are exposing us named in the case and work to destroy that case, we have weaponized the enemy and we are now going to clear all the decks of all of our cases by saying this case is so ridiculous, all the others are ridiculous as well. We are just so innocent. Well pointed out, Val Darnus. I think there's multiple motives here, and this is definitely one of them. Agent provocateur. I think you've been showing all these people fell over themselves to get on here. You know, Tony, we appreciate all the people who've come on, and I know a lot of people have fallen out in the Diddy community, but we have neutrality over here on this channel. I've not fallen out with anyone at all, and you know, still speaks to Jag and Odell, and I've invited them on in recent weeks. I've invited Jaguar on in recent weeks, but she was very busy getting the award, at the Mar-a-Lago, the Defender of the Freedom Award, which has probably pissed off the enemy even more, that she went down to Mar-a-Lago, got this Defender of the Freedom Award, and now they're just doubling up on trying to destroy her rep. Jag was in jail when this. A lot of people are saying that Jag was in jail when this allegation, the date of it. Classic legal move. Discredit one case and you discredit them all. Indeed. Thank you. Maggie's breakdown of all this BS is fantastic. Shout out to Maggie. Big homie CC is not complicit in the Chomo Diddler crimes. Yes. Indeed, Mike. Joseph says it's smoke and mirrors. It's the one time Jag was happy to report that she was in jail, Tammy. Disgusting, the truth is out and it's too late. Yeah, the dark forces have managed to completely cause the Diddy exposure community to fall out with each other. It's such a shame. Do you remember when everybody was working together and in complete harmony? Once things fall apart, they never get back together again. It's like, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. They couldn't put the pieces back together again, folks, in this situation, because I went through it with the Epstein. When those guys fell out who were all working together exposing Epstein, some of them are still fighting, beefing, hating on each other to this day. And that was 5 years ago, folks. So, yeah, I know that one thing starts to fall apart, they don't get put back together again. But we are friends with everyone on this channel. We don't publish videos about beefs and dramas and tittle-tattle. We're trying to just report on the news and stay out of the mix of all of the dramas. So we are going to continue now into the lawsuit and see what it says next, because I've not got to the bit where it mentions Jaguar Wright yet. So let's see. Plaintiff, while rattled by what she was seeing on Big Homie CC's phone, was still angry about being gang R-worded and was not complying with Diddy's request to take the money. Defendant Diddy then called defendant Janice in an effort to further convince plaintiff not to report her SA. Janice yelled at plaintiff to not hurt her son. Plaintiff told defendant Janice that her son had violently R-worded. Janice, seemingly unfazed, then continued her demands with plaintiff to take the money being offered and not report the R-word. Diddy then made further threats he had gotten off from bigger crimes and than this, and referred to Tupac again, further antagonizing plaintiff. Then Big Homie CC turned to defendant Diddy, pulled his gun on him, and asked him to repeat what he said in reference to Tupac. This gets crazier and crazier, folks. Do you remember when we first interviewed Big Homie? All he said was there was a club, I think it was on the East Coast, that he did security for one night when Diddy was performing there. That's all he said to us. He had any relation with Diddy. He didn't say he was in Diddy's posse. He didn't say he was going all over the country with Diddy, bodyguarding him and getting him beefs over Tupac. I think he would have raised that to our attention when we asked him how many times he'd met Diddy. All right, so as the two of them were exchanging words, plaintiff went behind defendant Big Homie CC, where he seemingly began to protect the plaintiff. Big Homie CC then advanced to Diddy, questioning him over the comments he made about Tupac. During this commotion, a neighbor directly across the street came outside and peered into the backyard and asked what all the commotion was about. Big Homie CC then pointed the gun at the neighbor, instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. Big homie CC then turned the gun back on Diddy. Not far behind, defendant Big homie CC tried to grab defendant Big homie CC's hand that had the gun. The gun went off and hit a hill behind Shane's residence. So if Big homie CC was there and this lady was getting R-worded, which is disgusting, if this happened, I hope she gets the justice she deserved. But just let's look at the role of Big homie CC in this. So he's out there. He's a bodyguard. Diddy's the man. He would have been bodyguarding Diddy. In the beginning, he's cracking jokes about what's happened. And now he's suddenly turning on the guy he's bodyguarding, pointing a gun at him, his boss, for the day. This doesn't make any sense at all. It's gone into Alice in Wonderland lawsuit. Lewis Carroll could have written this. Diddy then ran back up the stone stairs near the hill in the backyard towards where KK, Shane, and Brandy were. Plaintiff charged towards defendant Diddy, moved the concealed knife from her left hand to her right hand in pursuit of Diddy. Plaintiff pushed Diddy from behind while on the stone stairs outside, calling him to fall with his back to plaintiff. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Madel, for you, 27. Yeah, I'll probably replay the big homie, what he said about this when we get to the end. So let me just continue. All right. Plaintiff raised the knife in rage from the events that transpired with the intent to drive the knife into Diddy's back when he turned around and pled for his life. Plaintiff, shocked now to see Diddy acting as a victim, had a moment of clarity, turned and ran down the outdoor stone staircase back out to the backyard to escape. Diddy then chased plaintiff down the stairs and attempted to push her, but she was already at the bottom of the stairs and gained her footing and wielded the knife at Diddy, grazing his abdomen. Hearing the commotion, defendants KK and Brandy emerged, and defendant KK then began administering first aid to Diddy for the injuries caused by plaintiff. Plaintiff tried to make a quick dash for the exit, but was thwarted by another defendant, Doe. After a period of time, plaintiff was able to abscond from defendant Doe due to the first aid commotion with defendant Diddy was able to run down the street. Now, I think this is where we're getting close to Jaguar Wright coming in. Let's see. So, talking about plaintiff trying to get away, the sheriff coming out, and then defendant Pelletier, falsely posing as a sheriff, told plaintiff and the neighbor that they'd received several noise complaints prior to the neighbor's call, instructed plaintiff to find a way to get home. The sheriff, defendant Pelletier, did not offer to take plaintiff home, nor did he call for emergency services, including an ambulance, nor any offer to take plaintiff to the hospital, nor offer to recover her clothes or effects. Contra Costa sheriffs have confirmed that a police report was made that night by plaintiff Parham. Contra Costa sheriffs have refused to release any information related to the complaint on the night in question to any source, despite numerous attempts made via Freedom of Information. Plaintiff observed defendant Pelletier hand something to the neighbor that looked like to be an envelope at the door. As the defendant Pelletier exited, the neighbor went to a nearby room and quickly returned empty-handed. Plaintiff believes the envelope contained cash. The neighbor offered to let plaintiff sleep on his couch until she could figure out a way to get possessions and get home, but plaintiff declined, uneasy and unsure about the exchange with the police and the neighbor and the police, and only remained at the neighbor's residence for a short period of time once defendant Pelletier, posing as Contra Costa law enforcement, left. Plaintiff then went back to defendant Shane's residence, where she found the door open and her clothes were readily accessible in the residence. Shane emerged as if nothing had happened and offered for plaintiff to stay at his residence while she slept it off. Plaintiff asked for her purse and her keys, but Shane told her she couldn't leave in her condition, and plaintiff, catatonic in a state of shock and disbelief at the events that transpired, stayed at Shane's home while defendant Shane left. Later, Shane returned to the residence and woke plaintiff up, finally gave her back her purse, cell phone, and keys. In a daze, plaintiff returned home to try and make sense of what happened. Plaintiff called her primary care doctor and asked for HIV, STD tests, fearing having contracted disease from the violent R-wording. She continued her life, and she felt she wouldn't be believed. All right, so seemingly mere days. Shane miraculously began driving a new car. Plaintiff believed this was a reward payment by Diddy. She went to the hospital, did all the kit stuff, leaves her statements made on March 23rd, immediately after the assault. Maybe captured by body camera footage, but upon determining sheriff was defendant Pelletier, she does not believe it was captured as he's a co-conspirator. So it looks like she originally thought she was reporting stuff to the cops, and now she's saying it was a fake cop, and that's why there's no corroborating webcam. I'm sorry, body cam. So let me see if I can find where there's loads here about defendant Pelletier, but let me see if I can scroll forward and find out where the Jaguar Wright stuff is. I thought it was around here when I read it the other day. And for the last couple of days, I've been on the road. I did 2 podcasts in Liverpool, interviewed Maggie Oliver and the grooming gang survivor. Here we go. Right, I've got it. Okay, defendants Jaguar and Helena. All right, here we go. All right. Yeah, so we interviewed a grooming gang survivor who was in that BBC documentary with 3 girls. She's never spoken before. She was represented as Amber in that. And we also interviewed Charlie Seeger, part 3, old school Liverpool gangs. I know some people are waiting for that. And I did 2 talks at a school in Coventry today. So I've been on the road for a few days. Ziggy was in hospital a lot last week. He's back. Oh, this horrible rash. It was terrible. We're up all night, several nights in a row. And then tomorrow evening, I'm at the Farnham Literary Festival, which is by Surrey. I'll be speaking there in the evening about my new book, Sit Downs with Female Gangsters. All right, so I'm going to go back a bit because it's to do with plaintiffs were then taken to another location. During the transportation, plaintiffs were forced to listen to a device with music similar to the device associated with defendant KK's non-profit organization, Music Beat Hearts, in order to prevent plaintiffs from eavesdropping on the defendants' conversations. At certain times, the music stopped playing, and plaintiff John Doe was able to get the earbuds partially out of one ear, without defendants noticing, to hear conversations about the plans they had for the plaintiffs. Plaintiffs were taken to another location. They were able to keep track of their location by remembering cross streets when they were finally let out of the vehicle for stops. At this location, plaintiffs observed a recreational vehicle arrive at the residence. During this stoppage, when plaintiffs noticed KK was a part of the convoy. At this stop, plaintiffs overheard KK being referred to as a code name, believed to be a middle name, Natasha, discussing visiting the UC Berkeley campus, as defendants seemed very familiar with the area and familiar with the city. Upon information and belief, this location was approximately 7 miles from the home in Orinda, where plaintiffs were assaulted. Plaintiffs were then taken to another location at the Beacon Grand Hotel, Sir Francis Drake, where Shane worked as a manager. They were taken into the hotel for what appeared to be the side entrance. And defendant Pelletier told the co-conspirator defendants he would stay at a different hotel nearby, so it wouldn't be linked to him. Once inside the hotel room, plaintiffs were beaten and drugged by Valdez and Gonzalez. They pleaded with Valdez and Gonzalez to be released and for mercy. Valdez and Gonzalez instructed plaintiffs to sign paperwork at gunpoint. When they refused, they got pistol whipped on the back of their heads. They gave plaintiffs a drink, which caused them to pass out. Plaintiffs spent the night at the hotel, with the defendants taking turns to watch them. The next morning, the plaintiffs were restrained and bound by their hands in front and were placed into a vehicle. Plaintiffs then saw defendants Jaguar Wright and Helena. Here we go, folks. Upon information and belief, Jag and Helena were in a small sedan, light color, white or beige. Plaintiffs were then transported to the location of plaintiffs Parham's brutal assault on Loma Vista Drive by defendants Jaguar and Helena. Helena was the driver and Jag was the passenger. Helena warned plaintiffs if they tried to escape or run that she would have to shoot you. This is crazy. Helena also warned plaintiffs not to throw up her vehicle, saying, "You better not throw up in my car or get sick." Helena mentioned having two partners as backup who were bounty hunters. Plaintiffs were familiar with Helena as she had filed a lawsuit against Michael Jackson in 2005 and filed a creditor's claim against the Jackson estate upon his demise in 2009. Plaintiffs were familiar with Helena from a previous Michael Jackson lawsuit and had met with defendant at her home in West Hollywood to determine the credibility of her claims if they were similar in nature to plaintiffs. Plaintiffs had reported Helena multiple times to LA and OC FBI field offices for her role in the crime syndicate with defendants Palatia Valdez and other individuals. Plaintiffs attempted to make conversation with Helena in which she admitted she was the same person who plaintiffs had met previously. Defendant Jaguar, aggravated, stated, "You let them know who you are? That's really great." Plaintiffs noticed defendants had large brown bags and manila envelopes full of cash that was banded. It appeared they were separating the large sums of cash to distribute as they were placing cash into the manila envelopes. Jag discussed with Helena how the party started the first black-owned network. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs believe the network to be Revolt TV. Jag and Helena discussed the other co-conspirators but referred to them by their middle names. When Jag said Cornelius, it upset Helena, who said the defendants Odell and Drewski were her clients and nothing better happened to them. Plaintiffs better not say anything about them or she would have plaintiffs killed. Jag told plaintiffs they were being taken to meet John. Plaintiffs now know that was referring to Diddy. When defendants arrived with plaintiffs at the Loma Vista location, it appeared as they were waiting, coordinating for others to arrive. A large sedan arrived and plaintiffs were placed in the back with Valdez Peltier driving. Plaintiff was looking for intersecting street signs to the location. They thought they were going to be murdered here. They tried to plan for escape. They were brought into the house, into the kitchen where they were watched by Gonzalez. They repeated their pleas to Gonzalez to be released. He said there was nothing he could do. They could hear people inside tried to listen to what was happening, which included a woman's scream. They went deeper into the home where they encountered more individuals, including Diddy. They observed several individuals around the bed, Gonzalez and Valdez outer guards. They observed Jaguar and Helena enter the residence. Jag told plaintiffs, "He wants something you have. If I were you, I'd figure out what it is really fast." Referring to Diddy. Drewski appeared in a vest and shorts and he engaged in conversation with plaintiffs. Plaintiffs tried to appeal to defendant by talking about the music industry, and defendant instructed plaintiffs that they should cooperate. Plaintiffs described what they observed during the assault of Parham after his interaction with Drewski. Plaintiffs observed Parham having an IUD forcefully placed in her female area by KK with the assistance of Brandy. Plaintiffs heard KK make a remark about how Jane Doe would not need an IUD because of her age. While hearing Parham scream in agony during the forced IUD insertion, Jane Doe yelled, "Stop hurting her." Shane placed a pillow over Parham's face, suffocating her, and Jane Doe yelled for them to stop or that she would die. Plaintiff Jane Doe believes Parham didn't lose consciousness because she became limp and unresponsive. Diddy instructed Valdez to shut her up, and Valdez hit Jane Doe with the handle of his firearm. John Doe witnessed Parham being assaulted by the remote, and when he tried to say something, plaintiff was told to shut up or they would put the remote in him. John Doe believes he heard Jaguar make remarks, "Put that remote in her. She's going to learn today," and telling plaintiff Parham that she was going to make it worse. This just gets wilder and wilder, doesn't it, folks? Let me just take a quick break and see what people are saying in the chat. This whole thing is so fabricated. This is from Hello Coco. We all know Homie doesn't operate like this at all. Exactly. How much was she paid to fabricate this lie? Exactly. Where is lol? Jag never met Drewski. A day in her or his life. That internet comedian was living at his mum's house, broke in 2018. He was a content creator then. He didn't become known until 2020. Funny how Jag was in jail then. What idiot liars. This is such a joke. Hate to do this to Jag, but she has proved it. I don't believe this lawsuit will stand, but maybe it will teach people lessons not to say things that aren't true. Yeah, all right. So people are still on the same page here with this one, thinking it's an absolute crocker. So let me go back to it. And plaintiffs believe the remote assault was to punish Parham for the IUD failure. Plaintiffs heard KK remark to defendants Diddy and Drewski that she needed to keep them sufficiently drugged and revealed a bag full of substances and paraphernalia. KK appeared to be dispersing doses to defendants, asking their weights. John Doe was taken to the bathroom. While in the bathroom, he believed there were other tenants and began to bang on the wall, hoping someone would hear him, but the only person who would heard him were Valdez and Gonzalez, keeping watch outside. He saw defendant Odell. John Doe immediately noticed Odell because when he took his clothes off, plaintiff remembers defendant in great shape, especially in comparison to the naked bodies of Diddy and Drewski. John Doe overheard Diddy and Odell discussing businesses and the plan to have Parham return to New York with Odell. John Doe could not readily observe where Jane Doe was during this time. While during this time, Jane Doe was out of sight. Jane Doe was being essayed by Valdez. John Doe witnessed the gang R-word of Parham. Witnessed Drewski douse Parham in baby oil and then jumped and slid across her body. John Doe observed Diddy and Drewski manically and hysterically laughing, which plaintiff attributed to their substance use. Diddy attempted to force John Doe to also S.A. Parham, and he refused. Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirator to throw plaintiff John Doe into the wall several times to get him to comply with demands at R-word Parham. He would not comply. Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirators to yank, grab, and pull at plaintiff John Doe's man parts violently in an effort to punish him for not participating in the gang R-word of Parham. John Doe remembers big homie CC saying he was going to look for pliers to use to further torture plaintiff. So, big homie CC started out in the mix, cracking jokes, and now he's back to going, being a bad guy. Plaintiff John Doe believes Diddy wanted plaintiff to R-word Parham so they could frame him in the event Parham reported her assault. In an effort to get DNA from John Doe to place on Parham, Diddy had one of the defendant co-conspirators orally copulate plaintiff John Doe to get his man fluids, but it failed. Jane Doe observed KK return to the room to check on Parham, providing her an IV, telling her to breathe deeply. John Doe watched Parham lose consciousness. At some point, Jane Doe returns after defendants Diddy, Shane, Drewski, Odell, KK, and others leave the home and retire to either the backyard or to the upstairs patio. Plaintiffs were left alone and unattended with an unconscious Parham. It seems to me like they're weaving in, the IV stuff and the baby oil stuff from news stories, as well as weaving in, some of our podcast guests. So let's keep going. Where was I? Plaintiffs were crying after observing the assault upon Parham and began to realize this was their chance to devise an escape plan. They began looking for weapons and exit points. They couldn't find any phones or weapons. Looked like the cutlery had been removed. Plaintiffs were trying to act quickly while the defendants left them unattended, outside smoking, drinking, laughing loudly as if partying. Plaintiffs observed others outside believed to be Diddy's sons, roughhousing and practicing basketball moves. Diddy tells his sons to watch the gate and make sure no one leaves. Gonzalez is outside the front door, where the front door was barricaded by yellow crime scene-like tape. Door lock was unusual because it was facing backwards, needing the key to exit. Fearing no way to escape, Jane Doe mentioned to John Doe that she overheard them say put it on top of the refrigerator and instructed John Doe to check to see if there was anything on top of the refrigerator. John Doe found the knife. Then heard ramblings from the room. Parham went in to check on her and stop her from making too much noise that could thwart the escape. Plaintiff told Parham they weren't going to hurt her. They were there to help her. Here to help. Parham, just now coming into consciousness and being horrifically gang-hourly, was upset, terrified, unsure if plaintiffs were trying to help or were co-conspirators. Plaintiffs eventually were able to get Parham to calm down and listen to the escape plan. They could not find an exit to escape and needed her help to escape, otherwise they would all be unalived. Parham believed plaintiffs and agreed to help in the escape. Plaintiffs told Parham they'd found the knife. Parham exited the home with the knife concealed to the backyard. KK returned and took Jane Doe to the balcony. KK did not check the residence. She believed Parham was still unconscious. On the balcony, KK demanded Jane Doe sign documents. Plaintiff refused. Diddy yelled to at least 2 Doe bodyguards. Plaintiff would not sign and asked them to assist. Plaintiffs believe the documents related to creditors' claims plaintiffs had against the Michael Jackson estate. During this interaction, parties heard a gunshot which caused everyone to run towards the backyard where the shot come from. Diddy pushed Parham down at the bottom of the stairs. John Doe believes he assisted her up. Plaintiffs were then reunited, and John Doe told Jane Doe now was the opportunity to escape. The plaintiffs ran out the back gate onto the street in the opposite direction of plaintiff Parham. They arrived at the house next door to the residence and banged on the door, yelled for help. The wife came out and said that she and her husband couldn't help. Plaintiffs found the exchange bizarre and couldn't understand why they couldn't not help or call 911. They were then able to try to hide until they saw an officer report to the location, and they attempted to speak to the officer. And this is now, okay, so this is a repetition, but with more detail, where the defendant Pelletier, they're saying, was pretending to be an officer. And then unbeknownst to the plaintiffs, defenders Jaguar and Helena were in a nearby vehicle. Gonzalez exited the vehicle, went to the vehicle with defendants Jaguar and Helena and confronted them about what plaintiff Jane Doe said. Gonzalez returned to the vehicle while plaintiffs were being held, seemingly confirming what Jane Doe said because the plaintiffs heard him use the Spanish term mayate, which is a slur. And then defendant Gonzalez then walked plaintiffs to a nearby street where the SUV was parked and gave plaintiffs the keys to the vehicle and released them. All right, so it's getting near the end of that story there. Let me see if there's anything else about Jaguar that they've not, or Big Homie that we've not yet reported on in this channel. We've already reported on all the general idea of this lawsuit, the previous details before it was amended. But now they've weaved everybody in. It's just become too bizarre to be believed by me, personally. Like I said, when Chris Todd sent me this by email, I read it. I just thought the trolls had put it out there to cause dissension amongst the community. And now it is being reported in the news. So it does look like a legit thing, but there are always sinister, Machiavellian plans afoot when things like this are issued. You know, perhaps tomorrow they'll add who's Misha, Lamisha? Perhaps they'll add Lamisha. Perhaps they'll add Adria English. Perhaps they'll add Courtney Burgess. And it'll just get more and more bizarre every month. So, yeah, and then it's just all about the claims at the end of the lawsuit. All right, folks. So I'm at the Farnham Literary Festival tomorrow night. But when I get back on Wednesday, I'm gonna try and hammer. Now I'm off the road. I'm gonna try and hammer 1 or 2 live streams a night. The subject areas, of course, if anything comes up on these stories where we're reporting them. But we're going to get more into Keir Starmer, the corruption, Zelensky, Ukraine, the grooming gangs. So we've got Professor Hamamoto coming on Wednesday at 9 p.m. UK, talking about the Academy Awards, Hollywood, music industry exposed. That's going to be a good one. And then earlier in the day, we have got someone who's never been on the channel before. His name's Alex Krainer. He lives in Europe. And he's going to be talking about, this is at 3:30 p.m. UK, did Zelensky sell Ukraine's minerals to Starmer? So we're going to keep on, so much is developing with Elon Musk, Doge, Trump, Ukraine, Israel, Netanyahu. We're going to be covering a lot more of that. Let me just have a look at what people are saying in the chat. Sean, read Jaguar's comments. Right, so is Jag in the chat? Is that what you're saying? Where is she? Where is she? I've not been reading the comments at all. Where is she? I'm scrolling back now. I'm scrolling back. Hey, Jag, if you're watching, like I said from day one, after Piers Morgan had you on, we have got your back. They are trying to foment dissension in the community of activists exposing the monsters. They're trying to make you guys now work for Diddy. They're trying to make you and Big Homie Jag work for Diddy by destroying this lawsuit so Diddy can say, look, all these lawsuits are BS. I've won this one thanks to Team Jag and Team Big Homie. And now we can look at all the others skeptically. They're trying to tie you down with lawfare, Jag. They are trying to take up your resources and your time to get your eyes off the prize. And, let's see, I'm still scrolling back and I still do not see. I'm so sorry. I don't see Jag's comments still. Can someone repost it in the chat? Because I'm going cross-eyed trying to find it here, folks. Right, yeah. So I ain't finding that comment. There's no way. There's too many. It's too buried. I'm going to be here all night. Jag was booked into Cook County Jail, extradited from Dallas, released. Public records. So, yeah, that's what I thought. Utter BS. Any lawyer. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm seeing it now. All right, I'm seeing it now. I appreciate that, English Sean. I know, friend. It's sad. It's sad, but it's to be expected. We know how these Machiavellian dark forces get together and come up with troll-like schemes that they can incorporate into the legal system to tie the good people down, to distract them, to divide them, and to make the rest of the Diddy lawsuit seem as preposterous as this. Alice in Wonderland, absolute BS. Jag, even if they said Courtney Burgess and Lamisha and Chris Todd were getaway drivers for these allegations, this lawsuit could not be any more ridiculous than it is right now. The truth will always be attacked. And I'm glad I'm off the road. We took our eyes off this one. Diddy's not been on our radar as much. I've been on the road. Baby Ziggy was in a hospital for a week. We were up all night. But now we're back. We're watching. We've got your back, Jag. And I'm at a literary festival tomorrow. But if you do want to come on later in the week to rebut this BS, the door is always open. I have sent emails to Odell in the last month inviting you on, and I understand you've been very busy receiving your Defender of the Freedom Award. But if you can find the time to come on and we can sort something out, rebutting this absolute garbage, it would be phenomenal just to get you on. Anyway, it's bedtime here. Time for me to get some rest. Much love and respect wherever you are in the world. We stand united against these beasts, and we will continue on our mission, undaunted by whatever they throw our way. So take care, everyone. And I will be back. Ron's going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be back on Wednesday with Hamamoto and Alex talking about Ukraine and the mineral deal. Zelensky apparently has sold those minerals over and over and over and over again to finance his Bolivian marching powder